That's up to you.
Okay.
All right, what's the name of the show?
I don't remember. Fright Night. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. I guess I got tasked with running this one as good as I can. Um, Today, we are going to talk about Scream, the first one from 1996, my all-time favorite franchise. Before we get too far into that, because I probably ramble about that forever, we're going to do some intros. So, Fee, please tell me what you've been up to this past week.
Hey, wait a minute. You said Fuzzy was going to go first. See, you
I'm the
changed your
director.
mind. All right. So, we actually got to go see 28 Years Later yesterday. It was actually a day early at the movie tavern. So I know a lot of people had seen that it was advertised for June 20th, which is today. But I guess some studios got to have it early, so we got a chance. And it was nice because there were, I think, what, three other people in there besides us?
How was the movie, though? Without spoilers.
So this is what I'm going to tell people. If you watch the trailers, put them out of your mind. Um, I don't know why they chose those particular trailers. Um, and why a lot of people were saying that, it had a cult feel to it. Yeah, I think that was a misdirection. So if I were somebody going to watch the movie now after seeing it, telling a new person or another person, just go in there with no expectations, because what you're going to see is, yes, going back to the original feel of it, um, but it doesn't have anything linking it to the second one. So if you were expecting the second one to be this third one to have a connection to the second one, they got rid of that. It went in a different direction, which a lot of people are saying that now, so that's not really a spoiler. I will say that it went back to being really about one character's journey rather than being of multiple characters like it was in the second one. So yeah, I wouldn't go in there thinking that it's even a direct connection to the first one. I wouldn't even say that. I would just say it gives off the same feel that it did before in the first one, but as far as a direct connection to it, not really. So, is it worth a watch? Yes, it is, but it has different themes to it than the original one did. So, just don't write it off like a lot of people did when they did Until Dawn. Um, but also don't go in there thinking that it's some direct connection either. So, and then you won't be disappointed.
I think this is the first movie that I can remember that came out that does not have a popcorn bucket associated with it. I feel every single movie that comes out has some kind of popcorn bucket associated with it. So I think this is the first one in a while that like doesn't have a popcorn bucket with it.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
Megan 2.0 does.
That's at least two different ones.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're both
Well,
Yeah.
creepy.
the thing is, I don't know what they would possibly use as a popcorn bucket. Like the closest thing, without being spoilers, would be skulls, but I don't know if they could get away with human skull popcorn buckets. Possibly that might freak some people out from a design standpoint. But
Yeah.
I mean, they did a Terrifier one of Art the Clown. Clowns freak people out. So
yeah,
they did the monkey. That was kind of a creepy
yeah, that
one.
would
I
creep.
mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they some of them are really creative. For the new Superman, they have some good ones. They have one that actually looks like a mini popcorn machine that Superman's using his laser against the glass to like shatter the glass, and I was like, yo, I'm not even a Superman fan, but that one looks awesome. They have a Jaws one for the 50th anniversary where it's him coming out of the water. It's like $50. It's huge, but like sold out right away. So I don't know. I'd imagine they're going to re-release it and you could pre-order it. But yeah, these popcorn buckets, man. I think I have like 8 of them or something. I get caught up in the hype very easy between the Batman, Scream, Monkey. Like, I just, you go to them and you get free pop. Well, I don't want to say free popcorn, but you get a bucket of popcorn with it. So it's a nice icebreaker. Like, hey, wife, look what I bought. But I got you popcorn. So you just spin it to be like, hey, I bought you popcorn, and they just happen to give me this popcorn bucket with it. Whatever.
I think in this case, with 28 years later, I think I would be disturbed if they came out with a popcorn bucket because of the themes within this. I mean, it's pretty heavy themes. So, yeah, I would be worried if they came out with a popcorn bucket on this one.
Well, give it time. We'll see. If not, I think I saw some movie theater had like a poster or something, and when I think there's another one going to come out, and then it's like the second half of the poster, or I could be just making that up, but not sure. So besides that, Fee, anything else you've been up to?
Not really. I did get the so I'm supposed to be in Humanabachi 3, and I got the dates today in reference to when we're supposed to shoot it, which is supposed to be August 30th. But I still haven't gotten the script.
Human Hibachi?
Yes, Humanabachi 3.
They made two others?
Yes, they had 2 others. Actually, they had 3 others because they had a prequel. It was a short, but it was a prequel. It wasn't a full-length movie. But yeah. So still a little weary about this. I know Fuzzy is too.
Anyway.
He rolls with the flow.
So
what about,
what was that?
I was gonna say, well, Fuzz, anything else new with you, or you
well,
sorry.
For me, for this past week or so, I've been IT for a laptop that, like I said, I think prior to the show, where the microphone and the speaker wanted to completely quit and couldn't figure out, like, it's not a virus. Tried, even Geek Squad tried wind up doing a reinstall of some of the drivers, and that didn't fix it. So it looks like a complete reinstall of Windows 11 kind of fixed it, but it has me worried where it's like, if you bump this thing, is there something loose inside that will disconnect and then it not recognize the mic again? But other than that weirdness, just a few more things for the 28 years later. It definitely gives off more of the feel of like the first one than the second. I liked it, but I'm debating on if I like 2 better than 3. 1 is still king right now for me, but that the 2 versus 3 will probably be the big debate going on. But that's always the case with a series of things, and really looking forward to what other installments they have in the series, because I guess they got 2 other films coming. So this one was would be a nice lead up to possibly what else they're planning in future releases and stuff. But other than that, a little gaming here and there. Like, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, I got the Switch 2. As a gamer, I've never really been a Nintendo fan, always been more of a Sega fan, and I will probably wind up using my Quest 3 more than my Switch 2, but nonetheless, it's been fun playing Mario Kart. I get Donkey Kong Bonanza. I already got pre-order or paid through GameStop, so waiting until, I guess it's July 17th when that drops. But just been, looking at gaming news for Xbox and pretty excited what they got going on for their up and coming hardware and stuff like that. But movie wise, haven't really watched anything outside of like we rewatched Scream just to kind of touch up on a few things, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into a lot of the quirks and funny instances and stuff that go throughout that film. But yeah, I'm just glad to be here with you guys and talk about Scream, which I won't say I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I am a fan of the franchise, but like I'm more of the zombie guy. But as far as non-zombie horror films, this is definitely in my I would say top three type of deal. And it's going to be fun talking about this one, especially after kind of just rewatching recently Scream 1. So yeah, let's talk about it.
I agree. The Scream franchise, as everyone knows, there's 6 of them currently out, and the 7th one is, I don't know if it finished filming, but it's supposed to come out next year. I'm about the 7th one. I'm a little worried. There's a lot of new cast they're introducing. They're having like Sydney's husband as a character. I think that's comedian Joe McHale or whatever. They're having the girl from Ghostbusters, McKenna Grace. The original director's back. I think the guy that did the original score's back from the first one. So I'm very anxious and cautious to see how the new one comes along, because the last 2 you didn't have Sydney as the main story. The one, she wasn't even in it, and then the other one she was, but they went a different route with Jenna Ortega and Melissa. So it'll be interesting to see how they come back to Sydney and make it about her. I think they said Matthew Lillard's in it, maybe David Arquette. So it'll be interesting if those are flashback scenes, if those are somehow they figured out a way that they really didn't die, like Matthew Lillard got the TV thrown on him and he didn't die. I don't know. We'll see. Stranger things have happened in horror movies. So, I guess the first rule in horror movies is there are no rules. Like, no matter how bad you think someone gets killed, they could always come back. So the first Scream is near and dear to my heart. I don't remember exactly when I saw it for the first time, but I remember when I really started getting into horror, it was pretty refreshing to, you had your Michael Myers, you had your Freddy Krueger, you had your Jason, and then you had Scream that came out. I mean, you had Leprechaun and Chucky and stuff also. I think Candyman, but Candyman, there was 3 of them, I believe. Like, I wouldn't really call it a franchise compared to the other ones that you have. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's a little older of a franchise, but like Scream just felt different to me. Like it feels almost like a real life movie compared to like the other ones kind of feel like serial killer movies. Like someone's always being chased, where it had a different feel to it for me. The opening scene, I would say, is probably the most gory scene in the movie. It was also very unheard of. You had Drew Barrymore, who's like on the main poster, and then you assume she's the main character, but spoiler, she gets killed in like the first 15 minutes, which was like, whoa, what the fuck's going on here? Like, all the advertising they're doing has, well, not all of it, most of it has Drew Barrymore's face on it, and she's done. And I think they said that Drew Barrymore was in line to be Neve Campbell, but then she picked Casey Becker instead. So what did you think what are your thoughts about the opening scene? Because I feel like that was almost like a mini movie in itself before the real Scream started, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I'll take this one first. Like, it definitely broke some rules as far as what you'd expect from a typical horror film. And Drew Barrymore being a fairly big star and being killed within the first 15 minutes just seems like it goes against all the written rules. Although, yes, you're going to have the girl run out of the house in high heels kind of thing, fall and get stabbed or whatever. Not exactly in that fashion, but it didn't seem like it made sense, given that this is a new series. You would think Drew Barrymore would be like the face of it, carrying on kind of thing. And yeah, they fixed that right away. But I get what you're saying as far as like this feeling like a real movie kind of deal, because it's almost like they're aware that like horror movies exist, and there are certain rules or certain things that you kind of expect, or certain things that should be done differently that would make it, you know, more believable, or at least more accepting, as opposed to just something that's supernatural. Oh, this deformed kid can breathe underwater and follow anybody and chop their head. No, that's a little unrealistic. Or a guy coming out of the nightmares and, you know, killing you in your nightmare kind of thing. I mean, supernatural, sure, but you want something that feels like, hey, this could have been in the news in real life kind of thing, as opposed to, yeah, there's no way that happened. That's more of like a old wives' tale, or some sort of like scary, you know, campfire story kind of thing. So yeah, that first 15 minutes, albeit not as gory as it probably could have been, but pretty gory nonetheless. You almost feel bad for Drew, as far as like her parents come home and she's up there trying to call him, but she's already been stabbed in the throat. So there's air rushing out. So she can't make, you know, any sound to, you know, to warn them or notify him or anything like that. But it definitely gives you a much more serious tone than even you expect. Cause it all sounds joking as far as like the phone call initially, you know, the back and forth and whatnot. And then it takes a dark turn real quick, and you would think, hey, you know, lock all the doors. That should be sufficient, but they could just as easily throw a lawn chair through the door. So it's like that's one of those times, although looking back at it, it's like that neighborhood, nobody had an alarm system or anything like that. But then again, it was different times. It's like late 90s, a really a well-to-do area kind of thing. That type of stuff didn't happen. Although the one, well, Nev's character's mom wound up being, you know, murdered, I guess, like the year before kind of deal. But all things aside, it just feels like it's one of those neighborhoods where nobody locks their doors. You know, everybody knows everybody, even though they might, you know, not be able to see their neighbor's house for a mile or something. But yeah, it was a strong awakening or wake up call in horror movies for that first 15 minutes. And I don't know if anybody's really tried to recreate that same tension and, you know, surprise, I guess you could say, in a good long while. It definitely at that point put a stamp of that this is going to be a unique series in comparison to a lot of other, you know, horror films and things like that.
And what I also appreciated about it was the opening 15-minute scene or whatever. It was so dark. It was like shot at night. It was dark. And then when it transitions to the story, more Scream, it's like light out. They're at school. Like, it just has a different feel than other horror movies with like being dark or always at night, or I don't know. There's like sun and everything. It's like a little refreshing. And they like even do some teases, like when Nev Campbell's at her house in the beginning packing for Tatum to pick her up. Like she'll open up a door and there'll be music, and then like close it. And it's like, oh, like you thought Ghostface might be behind there.
Right.
Did you catch though in the beginning when her parents come home, Casey's, they said, go to the Mackenzies. That was Easter egg, I guess, to Halloween, that when Jamie Lee Curtis with the kids, she told the kids to go down the street to Mackenzie's, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but yeah, that is a nice call out to that movie and stuff. Like, and that just in general, like they come home, popcorn's burning, they see a lawn chair through the door, and he's like, yeah, you need to go down to the neighbor's house kind of thing. And although all things considered, it'd be like, well, I guess no one keeps a gun in the house. So it's like that part was a little different, but yeah, definitely, since the phones aren't working, go down to the neighbor's house and call 911. But yeah, calling
But
out to the Mackenzies, that was pretty cool.
and the fact that you like hear your daughter dying on the phone, like,
Yeah.
but not knowing where she is. Like, they don't have cell phones, so
Yeah.
or sorry, this is when cell phones first came out. So I think instead of cell phones, they called them cellular devices. It's the one scene, I think, when they're at the police station later on in the movie. I think when Billy, they're like, "Where did you get this cellular device?" Like, it's just funny hearing that, because it's like, if you had a cellular device back then, you were some big shot or something.
Yeah. I mean, definitely teens weren't having them at this point in time. Like,
But did you see the
we were
house?
just getting past the pagers.
But did you see the house?
Well, yeah. I mean, the
You know,
houses, all of the
Garwood.
houses, it's a different. We're talking like median income is in the probably the half mil range, even in the 90s for some of these homes. As far as they this was like Hollywood, but not Hollywood. This was like, old money. What was it? The Hamptons? Well, not necessarily exactly like the Hamptons, but like more along those lines with these kids. Although not all of them having cars. I mean, yeah, we saw some with cars, but I would assume there would be a lot more cars and whatnot. But
I mean,
it
what
was a
did
different time.
Sydney's dad do for a living that he's a single parent now and they have that huge house? Like,
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. He said he had to go to the expo. Now that can mean a lot of things, but I think it's similar to what Fuzzy was doing when he was employed.
Yeah, where you go to like if you're in I was automotive. I'm assuming he was probably in home stuff. So he was probably between an architect and like a builder in general. So he was probably checking out like new materials for homes or new code things or new pre-builts and stuff like that, to the point where he's probably somewhere high up in like not even home construction, but like commercial construction for offices and stuff like that. That's my guess. I mean, the other would be if he was in automotive, although typically you want to be in Detroit or California for that. But it would be one of those things where it's like, okay, what's all the latest and greatest in tech in vehicles, and what parts can we sell? What parts do we have available that might be part of tier 1 through 3 for being a supply chain for the automotive industry and stuff. But yeah, there's incomes out there that can do that. But yeah, I wish I was in one of them at that point. But yeah, that single parent making that kind of money, yeah, he was doing something right, I guess. But
yeah, it was. So I guess out of the first one, not including the other ones in the franchise, but for the both of you, who would be your favorite character of the first Scream?
Oh, Matthew
Good,
Lillard.
bad. Matthew Lillard? Why?
Matthew Lillard was the best. I mean, yeah, you had Nev Campbell, okay, and you definitely had David Arquette in that, but Matthew Lillard took his character more deep in a short amount of time than anybody else. His reactions, you knew exactly what type of guy he was. You know, he was a sarcastic guy. He was the one that always poked fun at people. He could have been endearing because he obviously has a girlfriend that's not throwing him, away every 5 seconds. She never once said, "Hey, I think we should break up." No, she was. So obviously he had good qualities and bad qualities, but his gestures, the way he delivered his lines, it was more animated than most of the other cast.
The end of the movie, he definitely has some classic lines in his house party, I guess you could say. Who was your favorite, Fuzz?
Actually the same, but it's more so for the comedy and just how believable he made his character. Like, I mean, the last 15 minutes was probably some of the funniest stuff I've heard, as far as like with him still being worried about how mad his parents are going to be at him, and then You cut me too deep. I'm feeling kind of woozy here. Like that. He said a lot of things throughout the movie that I've still like quote randomly at times. So yeah, his character delivery was definitely on point. Um, outside of that, uh, that's a tough one. Like you want to like Dewey or David Arquette's character, but it's like he's definitely in over his head being the deputy, and everybody picks at him, and it's like, gotta call me deputy in front of the people. You can't like talking to his
Yeah,
sister, and he's like,
yeah, you
whatever,
can't call
Dewey.
him
Yeah,
Can't call him
so it's
Dewey.
like, yeah, so those would be the two, but it leans more towards Matthew Lillard's character, Stewart, just because of the comic relief aspect and his delivery on stuff. But Dewey's the likable one as well, but it's like, come on, at some point he's going to snap, and unfortunately he didn't do that. But that kind of fits with his character. So
I know, but he kind of had an easy role. I mean, he was paired up with his girlfriend, so
yeah,
you know he had an easier time delivering a lot of his lines and everything, especially with her.
Mhm.
So
I don't think they were dating at the time. Him and Courtney Cox, I do not think they were official at this. I think they.
It was shortly after, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was shortly after.
Yeah, like the
They
chemistry
knew each
you
other.
see is like them, the real flirting with each other and stuff. So what you see in the movie is like sincere and not acting, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It was, you know, it was kind of easy for them to look at each other in that way.
But imagine, without like going too far in the other franchises, but imagine like him and Courtney Cox. You meet on Scream 1, you kind of eventually fall in love, you get married, and then you get divorced and you still are in the movies together. Like it's
Well, I know that part.
but
That's
like
why
that
they
must
tell you
be
not
hard
to
like,
mess around at work. You don't. Well, I won't say you don't do that because a lot of us do that. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, if it goes well, great. If when something goes awry, you still got to see their face and you still got to deliver your line. So
Well, yeah. I mean, they broke up in 2012, and by the next year they were divorced. But they actually were flirting with each other on the Scream 1 set. They were in a relationship by Scream 2.
and then married by like Scream 3, I think it was.
Yeah. Well, by the time it was released, so they got married, you know, pretty much during filming, which had to be tough because you know,
Well, yeah.
wedding.
Well, yeah.
So,
But back to my question, I would say one of my favorite characters, probably Randy, Jamie Kennedy.
yeah.
He's the guy that brings some comedy. He's like that dorky virgin guy that like just wants to fit in. You find out he kind of is crushing on Nev Campbell and would like to get with her. And then also like he's basically telling the guys like the rules to horror movies. Like these are the rules. Follow these rules. You'll be fine. And I mean, poor guy tries. Like he tries to warn people, tries to tell them the rules, and just they don't care.
Well, that may have been the problem because he was kind of close friends with Stewart and Billy. Maybe not the closest of friends, but still friends in that circle kind of thing. So by him knowing the rules and telling them the rules, he was, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say this as spoilers because God knows this movie is old enough for, if you haven't seen it yet, you're doing it wrong. But like he's giving them the playbook of what to avoid and what not to do type of thing. So it was almost like he was feeding the enemy information without knowing they were the enemy. So yeah, that part, the irony behind it was kind of cool. But his character, you know, being the blockbuster kid and like you said, you know, just trying to fit in, it was funny, especially towards the end as far as like, you know, I guess it paid that he was a virgin because that allowed that shot through, I guess it went through his shoulder more so than anything. To not, you know, kill him kind of deal. Because Lord knows if, you know, based on the movie rules, had he had some, he would have probably got his head blown off or wound up like the one girl and be, bent in two in the garage door kind of deal. But yeah, his character was a nice fit, nice added touch as well. But yeah, he was telling the rules to some of the wrong people. That's where you got to check your circle, because sometimes your enemies are closer than your friends, kind of thing. So,
But
Now,
I think this is where the Scream Queen versus Final Girl comes in, though, because a Scream Queen is, somebody that kind of not really by their own skills survives. They're just kind of the last person standing. And some Scream Queens aren't actually the ones that are the killer or the, significant thing that makes the killer go away. They just happen to be the last person standing. But with Final Girls, they are the last person standing because of their skills. So I think that's where that difference comes in, where when we talk about Neve Campbell's character, she could have just walked away. A Scream Queen would have walked away, and then he comes up and he tries to go after her again. But in this case, she's like, nope, final shot. We're going to make it so that he never is able to come back. And she shoots him in the head.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a big difference with Scream compared to all the previous movies that we love.
Yeah.
Jamie Kennedy said himself, Jamie Lee Curtis was one of the best Scream Queens. That's great. But we all know some of the stuff she did was just sheer luck. Not really any particular skill she had. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why they tell you double tap zombies. I'd be the first one to be up there double tapping zombies. It's like, just because they're down doesn't mean they're out. So, but yeah, that being that survivalist and making sure what's down stays down. Yeah, that that definitely helped the series continue. But yeah, that was a good ending.
So Wes Craven then did not let any of the cast meet Roger L. Jackson. Roger L. Jackson is the voice of Ghostface. I think that was a good move by Wes Craven because it adds to the mystery. Like, you don't know who you're talking to. You can't put a face to who you're talking to, which makes it eerie. And Roger L. Jackson voice in Scream is iconic. Like, if in all the Screams there's been tons of killers, but the voice always remains the same. And if the voice ever changed, I don't know. For me, that might really, I don't want to say ruin the franchise, but it'd be really awkward.
Yeah,
And
it'd break the immersion.
yeah, and if you ever met Roger L. Jackson or seen Roger L. Jackson, what he sounds like compared to what he looks like, I would have never, like, I wouldn't think he was really scary or take him serious. I mean, he's just like an older guy. He was the voice of JoJo Monkey and the Powerpuff Girls. Like,
oh yeah,
he does a lot of voiceover stuff, not so much in front of the camera. And yeah, I mean, if I met him and I was shooting this movie, it wouldn't be as scary. But his voice is so iconic and creepy that it adds to the factor of like mystery and scariness, I think.
Yeah, I think it was probably better to have one solid voice as opposed to have the actors use some sort of voice modulator, which I guess you can kind of tell later, like when they, like towards the end of Scream 1, when Billy and Stuart are back and forth with the voice modulator and stuff, and then Neve gets it later, kind of deal, calling them. But yeah, his voice definitely added to the creepy and eeriness of it, because it's like, oh, what kind of scary movies do you like? Oh, it just sounds like a friendly conversation. And until he's like, don't you hang up on me. It's like, oh God, what happened? It rattles you or startles you into, going from being nice and calm to, oh my God, all right, I'm gonna hang up the phone, lock all the doors and hide in the corner somewhere. Hope he's not in, the calls from inside the house kind of thing. But yeah, I'm glad they went with the single voice for all the movies and stuff like that to keep it consistent and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely pays off. So then, watching Scream 1, you see the killer in the beginning,
Mhm.
and then you see him again, kind of attack Sydney once at the house. She escapes, and then like they kind of trickle the killer in until you see him more towards the end. But while watching the movie, did you just assume, oh, this is, I guess, a human under the mask, like, and then you're trying to figure out watching the movie who it is, or did you think maybe, I don't want to say supernatural, like, but did you think it was more along like a Michael Myers, where it's like, he can't be killed, evil, like, kind of thing, where you're never gonna see who he is under the mask, I guess, or you're never gonna see who's under the mask.
Well, with this particular one, so before, when you look at Michael Myers, and everything, you look at the silent, like Jason Voorhees, you look at the silent types. Freddy was different. So Freddy, of course, he talked from minute one. He's like, this is his, thing, that he is verbally messing with the kids. But in this case, we have a killer that is, again, messing with, their victim, their chosen victim. So I thought it was a person at first and everything, but I didn't think it was multiples. When you first open up, you see one person, and you see them. They're not talking on the phone when they're moving around the house. You know what I'm saying? But they are talking on the phone when they are standing still. So I thought it was one person. I just didn't know what their motive was. I didn't know why this particular person. So I didn't think it was supernatural either, because it kind of give you a supernatural kind of lead in on why Jason Voorhees, what's his backstory, what's Freddy's backstory. So I didn't think it was supernatural because of that. Nobody was giving any type of backstory. They were talking about the mom being killed and everything, and about this other person that was in jail. So I'm maybe a copycat kind of killer. I thought maybe, but definitely human. What about you, Fuzzy?
I'll base it off of like when I first saw the movie. Definitely knew it was human because you could fight back and hear them wince or kick them in, the balls, and you would know that they took some damage. So you knew it was a person. You knew it was more than likely a male person, but it was definitely human, or at least injurable, I guess, if that's even a word. But it was hard trying to figure out until like the later parts of the movie who it was. Like when I initially saw this years ago, or when it first released, it was about trying to figure out who this person was within the movie. And was it the principal? Because the principal was pretty handy with those scissors and stuff. So it made you think, well, maybe it's him. And then I always try and think, well, maybe it's the sheriff, because things are slow in town. He's raking up business by offing some people, and it brings attention to the force and stuff. Although if you're solving it brings positive attention. If it goes unsolved, it doesn't bring positive attention. So the initial sighting of the movie, or watch of the movie, definitely knew it was human, but trying to figure out who it was, it each person, it seemed like it could be them, and you weren't thinking, oh, these are definite psychopaths or something like that just want to kill for random reasons, or maybe they're from a broken home, or whatever the case may be. But towards the end, the fact that you kind of learn it's two people, then that's the eye opener. Okay, now it makes more sense how they can bounce from here to there, or maybe they do take some injury, and the other person can kind of cover. Oh, I heard noises out front, so I rushed over to get in the window, kind of thing. So a lot of that stuff made more sense in that fashion. But trying to figure out who it was, it's like, well, him having a cell phone, although watching the movie then versus now, well, they can track that info on the cell phone like almost instantly. Like it doesn't take 24 hours. They could, push come to shove. If they can get the warrant or the paper signed, they could get it in, like a matter of hours as opposed to a full day. But back then, tracking a cell phone or whatnot, like maybe I, even then I would think, well, hit the redial button and see what numbers were called. Like even those phones had at least memory up to one phone number type of deal. But yeah, it was definitely a human being. I figured it was a male because they were hitting the balls twice, I think, throughout the movie, and you could hear them go, oh, and be flipped over or hunched over afterwards, kind of thing. So, but who it was, yeah, it was like you figure it's somebody that was at the party at the end, but I didn't realize until they unveiled it, obviously, that it was two individuals as opposed to just one individual. So it all made sense at that point. And they really tried to throw you off with the stabbing scene after Nev's character and Billy, had their moment and stuff. But yeah, they at least made it. And that was what added to the believability of this, that it was a human, because you throw a beer bottle at like a supernatural, like they're not going to get fazed by a beer bottle to the head or something like that, or at least you would think. But this added that human believable element. It's just that somebody running around with a knife, unless you got a gun, you're in for a fight. So
I agree. I mean, it was just a matter of trying to figure out who it was, and like you said, with how horror movies were, at least the ones I watched, usually it was just one killer. So you definitely weren't expecting two people. And yeah, when Nev and Sydney and Billy have finally, she lets hit it, I guess you could say. And then he gets stabbed. Like the whole movie, she's a little suspicious of him. Like she loves him, but like something's not right with him. And then when she gets like, Billy, look out, and he gets stabbed, it's like, oh, okay, it wasn't him. And then it's like corn syrup. It's like, oh, well played. But like, I think one thing I like about Scream so much is it's almost 30 years. Next year is probably gonna be a 30-year anniversary. And when you watch it, I feel like it really doesn't feel like a dated movie. There's a couple times you watch it, and like in Sydney's bedroom, it looks a little old. Her computer she's on is like a big computer, and she's like typing 911, like, what's your emergency? Like, and then the whole cellular phone, like cell phones weren't a thing. But like, other than that, like the vehicles, they don't look really dated. The hairstyles and outfits aren't like super dated, where you watch some other movies from the 90s and they just look like, you're like, oh my God, like this movie's old. Where this one, I feel like it doesn't feel that way. It's still very believable and current, I feel. I mean, like you said, there are some scenes where it's like, okay, yeah, you can just star 69 the phone call now or whatever, but like, it's still, to me, a believable movie to this day. Like, the plot of it, it's believable. It's something that could still happen. The news people, like, I mean, when Columbine happened, like, surrounding the school like this, kind of like how the murder happened, like, trying to figure it out. So it's just very refreshing, I feel. And, I mean, Courtney Cox, by this point, she was an established actress on Friends, was like the nice person. So then when she's in this and she's like the bitchy reporter, it's like, oh, this is you don't really see her like this. So, you're kind of trying to feel her out too. Like, this is a new side from her who you see. Is something fishy with her? Is she trying to dig? Like, it's leaves a lot to the imagination.
Well, I guess here's the oddball question, especially with it being the 30-year anniversary right around the corner. Would you be opposed to a remake of the first one? Although, be it they modernize it just a touch, maybe cell phones are more prominent, although it probably, even cell phones today in that story setting, probably wouldn't take away too much from the movie. I mean, people might get pictures of Ghostface running through the halls at the school or something, and that might go more viral to the point where there's more reporters or something. But if they were to remake it, totally different cast. Maybe some of the original cast can be like the parents this time, or whatever the case may be. But um, what would be your thoughts, being the fan of the Scream series,
Oh,
of a remake with, but cell phones, maybe slightly more modern stuff, even if it's like home surveillance stuff, like, oh, they check the cameras on their phone and they see them run across the porch or something like that. Like, do you think that would, I mean, they would almost deliver the same story. Do you think it would be as good, or is it like blasphemy for to even say that?
I would say blasphemy, just from my perspective. I feel because they are still making them, that
Mhm.
to make a remake of the original is just like, I don't know what you have to gain by that, because you already kind of have some of the characters from the original still 7 years down the road. So to just all be like, all of a sudden be like, well, we're just gonna remake this franchise as we're still making new ones, it just would feel very out of place. Now, that being said, if Scream, they haven't made one in, kind of like Friday the 13th, when they made the last one and then they made the new one how many years later? Like, God, that's probably almost 12, 15 years old already. Like, I don't know if that was kind of a remake, I would say, of the original. Like, something like that's all right, but for a franchise that's currently still in the works and very much alive, to just keep making the new ones, but then make a remake of the original one with new cast members, I I wouldn't be down with that. I mean,
Okay.
you have Nev Campbell, who is Sidney Prescott, like, and then if you cast a new one, that would just feel so awkward. And like, I think it'd feel really weird because in the other Screams, they like, there's the movie Stab, which is like
Yeah.
basically about Scream, like what happened. So it almost feel like you're watching a Stab movie. Now, if they made a Stab movie, I'd be on board with that. But to make, like, in Stab, I think the quick clips they show the movie, Heather Graham plays Nev Campbell for like 20 seconds, if that. So like, if they made a Stab movie, I'd be down for it. But to just be like, hey, we're gonna remake this one, like, who would you cast as Matthew Lillard? Like, who would you cast as Nev Campbell? Who would you, like? That means you would also have to recast Roger L. Jackson, Ghostface's voice, and I feel like Ghostface's voice could like just break it right there. Like, the movie could be a solid 10, but then you hear his voice and it's like, that's not Roger L. Jackson, 0. Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like for me that would be no good. If it was, if Scream was done for like 10 years and they wanted to revisit it, like, as a cash grab or something, maybe. But with it still being current, I wouldn't appreciate that at all.
Okay.
But they might, I mean, I could see them doing something like that for like the newer generations, because
Yeah.
as you see the Scream movies, like, I think Scream 1 through 3, like, they're really not gory, but they're very good movies. And then like 4 starts getting a little bit more gory, but then with like the newer generations loving gore, like 5 and 6 definitely are a lot more gory. Like, the earlier ones, they get stabbed and stuff, and like, it's not super bloody. Where like now it's like they shank you 25 times and there's blood everywhere. It's just like,
Yeah.
all right, you're getting a little bit away from like Scream, like what made you guys scream. So
Yeah.
So
that's
you're not. So you're not a fan of the "I Know What You Did Last Summer" series.
not really. I mean,
That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're making a new one that's
Yeah.
coming out this year, but I mean, that movie, I feel like it's hard because it's like, these kids were fucking dicks and they hit someone and tried killing them. Now the guy's coming back after them. Like, I'm not really on the kid side here. Like,
Right. You're rooting for the guy they tried to kill that's coming back to kill him. So
yeah, like that guy's not doing anything wrong in my eyes. Like, they tried rolling him in the water and getting rid of him. So for that movie was actually like the opposite, where like I watched it, I was just like, I'm not rooting for these guys to kill this guy because they tried the first time. Like, this guy didn't do anything wrong. He just was out and got hit by the car. And so, yeah, I'm not a fan of those.
But that's kind of my point with Friday the 13th. It's like, okay, fine, he did what he did. I totally get it. But you took his due process rights away. Come on now. You took him out back and you burned him alive, and you never gave him a trial. Like, you're supposed to give him a trial first. Come on
You
now.
mean
Friday-
Nightmare on Elm Street, not
Yes,
Friday.
right.
Yeah.
No, right. Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy. But do you understand where I'm going with this? It's like, come on, let's not take away the due process rights now.
Well,
I mean,
it depends. I guess with Friday the 13th, it depends which one you watch.
Well,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, the original one, that
No.
one right there, the boy, the mom kind of had a right because, they killed her boy.
See, so back to Nightmare, though, like the earlier ones, they really don't touch on like the child.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I know. They
Like-
They did. Yeah,
the
they didn't really go
remake,
into it.
they touch on it a lot more, and they have some questionable lines.
and that's why
Right.
we don't claim that one.
Right, but then Friday the 13th, it's like that one. I'm not a big fan of that franchise. It's a little boring for me. Not as much action, but it's like,
Well, it gets repetitive, yes.
but like he drowns as a kid at the end of it.
Mhm.
You find out, okay, he's dead. So how does he grow up to be this huge adult then? Like,
Well, the first one, mom was doing it.
right, and then the second one,
After that point, they just made it a supernatural kind of storyline.
Yeah.
Which, he's coming back for revenge. I totally get that. It's the same with, on Nightmare on Elm Street, coming back for revenge.
but at the same point, like Friday the 13th, as they go on, the people that had anything to do with his death aren't at the camp anymore, and he just keeps killing them at the camp. And it's like, hey, people, here's an idea. Just close the camp. Like, he doesn't fuck with other camps, so just like
And they
close
did.
that camp.
But that would be the shortest series ever at that point.
Exactly.
I know, but they did. But they kept on reopening it because it's like, oh no, there's no curse on this thing. Oh
Yeah.
no, like that was
13 movies.
the story.
13 movies later, there's still no curse somehow. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just,
Well, I mean, it's like Michael Myers. Michael Myers, I like the movies. I don't necessarily. I think the Rob Zombie gives a better lore to.
ooh, wow.
It does give a better lore to what they originally started with. What they originally started with was kind of. It wasn't really that much of a story for him, a backstory. Rob Zombie gave it a better backstory of kind of what he went through in the first one. I think the second one was just a little bit kind of too artistic. I think he could have, not put the mom in that one because I think it just.
I mean, he was seeing a fucking white unicorn or something in the
Yeah, I
second
know.
one. Like, it was just,
Yeah,
the second one was just like, I don't even know what I'm watching anymore. Like,
and I agree with that. But I think the first one definitely delved into Michael Myers as a kid more than the original storyline.
well, yes, I will agree with that. But Halloween is a franchise that like, it's one of those franchises where there's whatever 9-10 movies of Halloween, but like they're all not a continuous movie. Like, you almost have to Google, like, okay, if I watch the first one okay, then the second one goes with it, but the third one doesn't. Oh, if I watch the first one, then I watch the 2018 version, then that's like it kind of ignores all the ones in between.
Well,
Then if I watch 4, it goes with 5, and it's like
yeah, but
they're
I don't know what they were thinking when they did Halloween 3. I have no idea what they were thinking on that one because it's not in the storyline. It's totally opposite the storyline, and it doesn't really include Michael Myers in the whole thing.
Right. He was trying to do something different and like use Halloween to tell different stories. Halloween 3, I mean, that movie everyone can talk about for hours because you're always going to have is it really part of the franchise or not? Like, it had nothing to do with it. And then, you have people like, oh, it sucked. But then other people are like, well, if it wasn't called Halloween 3, it'd be a good movie. Like, It wasn't a bad movie. So, like, Halloween 3 is one of those movies that's always going to get hate by people because it's called Halloween 3. And then, then they made Halloween 4 or whatever. So, like, it's grouped in that franchise for better or worse, I guess. Like, it's going to be there. So, it's, like you said, if you don't consider it part of the Halloween franchise, it's not a bad movie. New mask, different concept, like, Silver Shamrock, not bad, but you include it in the Halloween franchise. If Michael Myers is like, well, that was dumb.
But I mean, we have a strong plot in Scream on why the killers were doing it. Well, why one of the killers was doing it. I mean, this is where I really like Matthew Lillard's character the best, is because while his partner in crime is doing it because, your mom was sleeping with my dad. I mean, and she went away because of it. I mean, I can see why he's on a murderous rampage. But you gotta love Stu because he's not about any of that. He just wants to enjoy life. He wants to take it to the highest he can do. And his answer is peer pressure. Like, come on now. That was really big in the 90s. Peer pressure. Remember, we had Dare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't do drugs. Don't feed in that peer
gonna
pressure.
Be so mad at me.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and then the fact that they're having this huge house party at Stu's house, like, you think, okay, well, if you're at a house party with all these people, like, I should be safe. Like, a killer's not going to show up there because there's people everywhere. Like, but then it's ironic that Officer Dewey drops the kids off. Like, a cop shows up at an underage party of high schoolers and just drops them off. And then, like, Gail Weathers shows up too, just to, like, scope things out and stuff. And it's like, okay, this is.
Now it's a date.
Or, it's like, okay, it's almost like they're setting a trap for the killer, but, like, they're really not because Stu is already at his own house, like, and he's going to kill him. Like, so. Now, did you know Dewey, like, everyone knows him as Dewey, but once I think his sister calls him his real name, Deputy Riley, but his first name is actually Dwight.
Yeah.
Which I think they only say like once or something, but obviously Dewey is just, it works. I don't like Dwight sounds so nerdy.
It sounds very little kid.
Yeah, like, which at some points, like, his character, like, they play it as like, I mean, he's the cop, he's the deputy, but then also he like lives at home with his mom still. So like, and then when him and Courtney Cox are having their moment, and she's like, "Oh, you watch my show?" And he's like, "Well, I was that age at one point." So he is in his early 20s, but like, like he shows up to the party with Courtney Cox, like thinking he's hot shit because it's like, "Yo, you see who I'm with?" Like, and it's like, "Yo, you're a cop."
But still,
I mean, Wes Craven, the director, he has so many bangers. I feel like, unfortunately, I feel like we lost him too soon. But like, he's done so many good movies, and like, I mean, he was He was in Scream. He was the janitor wearing the Freddy outfit, cleaning the hallway. Like, it's. I wish we would have got more Screams out of him to see where he was planning the franchise to go, or maybe he didn't even really. Maybe he's winging it a little, but it would be interesting to see what his vision was.
Eventually, a Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street crossover.
Wow,
Yeah, I don't think Freddy would have any trouble with
See,
it. I'm
it's hard.
sorry.
It's you say that, but sometimes they do those mashups where some of them are pretty believable. I mean, even Freddy versus Jason, like, you know, depending whose side you're on, it's like, oh, Jason's so much bigger, he could just mess up Freddy, and then it's like Fear of Freddy fans like, oh, you know, he could bring you in his dreams and just mess you up. So like,
Well, I mean, but they did have a movie of Freddy versus Jason.
that's what I mean, though. Like a movie where some people are so like one versus the other. That's like, well, this wouldn't even be a fair fight. Like this, you know, he'll just wreck them. Whether it's whatever one would wreck whoever. But
I don't know.
yeah,
I just think Hellraiser. You throw Hellraiser in there, I don't think anybody's surviving Pinhead.
I mean. Okay.
Depends on who messes with the box. If you mess with the box,
don't open the box. No issues. Like, I mean, some of these movies, it's pretty simple. Like, don't fuck with the box. Don't do this. Like, and then you don't hit someone with a car. Like, don't say Candyman. Don't do bad things. So Jigsaw comes, like, teaches you a lesson.
Don't go to Crystal Lake.
Yeah, don't get a gremlin wet after midnight, or don't feed a gremlin and then get it wet. Like, it's just don't go swim in the ocean with Jaws. Like, there's simple rules. Like,
this says a lot about humans.
Yeah, like ooh, yeah, it's dumbasses.
Yeah, they always say curiosity kills the cat, but it's like there's always somebody walking downstairs to hear that noise in the basement. It's like my basement's pretty much empty, or it's a bunch of boxes, and if those boxes start making noises, I'm gonna think about moving. I'm not going to investigate. I'm sorry. I'm just not that interested in my box making noise to go find out why it's making noise. They just, I don't know.
So, so somebody put up Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, that's a good. So the part I do not like with Cabin in the Woods is they show at one scene, they show like the whole board of all the creatures or things that kill you, and it's just like, wow, it'd been so cool to like see more of the backstories of some of those characters. Like, isn't that where they're going up and down the elevators and like they see the glasses of all the stuff, all the different things caged up and like other things, and then at the end, like batshit crazy, just everything gets released, and it's just like a stimulant overload of like, holy fuck, you have bats with ghosts, with snakes, with demons, with Draculas, like just
dragons.
Yeah, like anything you ever thought of is there in this movie, and it's just like batshit crazy, man. Like it's definitely worth a watch, and it is a good. I think people like sometimes people talk about that one with 13 Ghosts. Like 13 Ghosts, everyone says they wish they would make more of a backstory of each character that's in that house to like, which I agree, that would be cool to find out more about them. But yeah, Cabin in the Woods, that was a good one. That one should revisit that one actually. I remembered, but yeah, once they start letting everything out of the cages, and you have the guy that looks like Shaggy, that like legit looks like Shaggy, talks like Shaggy, and like I think even smokes weed. Like it's just like, wow, okay, like it's almost like were they trying to get Matthew Lillard as a character and couldn't?
Probably. They're like, we can't get him. Oh, just make him look like Shaggy.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice.
Because I don't know if that it's been a year since I seen that Cabin in the Woods, but I don't know
Yeah,
if that
exactly.
had like any huge cast people in it. Yeah, I don't know if it had like if you look at the cast, you're like, oh man, yeah, they're really blew up or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
so that was a good. I don't call it
So,
underground because it really wasn't underground.
so for the Cabin in the Woods 2,
They made a second one.
basically the director is talking about how. What was that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay. So for the Cabin in the Woods 2, if they were to make another Cabin in the Woods, basically Whedon, who was Josh Whedon, who was the creator of it, he's like he thinks that they kind of backed themselves in the corner with making the ending of Cabin in the Woods. So it's like, do they do what Evil Dead did and kind of remake the beginning to kind of redo it? Or, what? He's not saying it couldn't happen. He's just saying that it doesn't really kind of lend itself to having a sequel in the first place.
I
Couldn't there
So I
be
don't
forgot.
know if
different
we will
locations?
get another sequel.
Chris Hemsworth's in this one. I
I
forgot.
don't know.
Yeah,
He's done all right since Cabin in the
Yes.
Woods.
yeah.
I don't think you should do a sequel. Like it's fine as a
Well,
one-off.
yeah.
It came out 2010 or something. Like it's almost been 15 years. Like why don't touch it? Like just I don't know. There's some movies they just do sequels of like so many years later that it just feels unnecessary to me.
Yeah, I
Why?
know.
Like it's just like a cash grab. I feel like you're gonna take this already established movie and just make a sequel, and it's
What
probably
about
not
a
going to be
prequel?
as good. Uh some movies
But
are
what about a
okay with
prequel?
some movies are okay with prequels, but like that if they made a prequel and like explain how they captured some of the creatures, animals, ghosts, whatever, I'd be interested in that. And how they started that whole gambling game and everything. Like, I'd be okay for Cabin in the Woods. I'd be okay with a prequel more than a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, though. At least with that movie. Certain movies,
Yeah.
you know, prequels you don't need. It's just like it feels unnecessary. Like Scream. I don't really think a prequel would do any justice. Like, what
No.
would you gain from that? You might be able to watch the fair Sydney's mom had and like
How it affected
Nah.
Billy.
yeah,
Nah.
like see them as kids or something, but that'd be like 20 minutes long. Like, wouldn't it could be an extended scene instead of a sequel or prequel?
Mm.
So I think with 13 Ghosts, because we got somebody put it up there talking about how it was cheesy. I think it was kind of done in a cheesy way because of what they had. I mean, we're talking about a $14 million budget for Scream, and let's see how much they had for 13 Ghosts. Let's see. Okay.
Are we talking about the movie from the 60s, 13 Goes?
No,
No,
the
the
one
remake
with
of it.
the one with Matthew Lillard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he didn't see that.
No, I
Oh,
haven't,
He
I haven't seen
actually
that.
had a budget of $42 million for 13 Ghosts, and I'm just kind of wondering where that $42 million went.
probably to build that house with all those locked chambers. I mean, you had the guy, wasn't that guy from Monk in it? You had
Yeah.
Shannon Elizabeth. You had Matthew Lillard. Like, some of it probably went to the cast, and then
I know, but Tony Shalhoub at the time, I don't believe was that big of a name at the time that it was made.
that house with all those trap doors and like
Yeah.
that was pretty trippy. So to build that set probably costs a lot of money.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't think Tony Shalhoub was that big at the time that 13 Ghosts was made. Let me see when 13 Ghosts was made. Okay,
Matthew Lillard was probably a step.
2001.
2001. He he did Monk the year after that, and his
Okay.
yeah, and he was doing prior to 13 Ghosts. Um, in all honesty, his biggest, I'm gonna say, claim to fame at that time was actually Galaxy Quest. That was his most memorable role at the time in 1999. All of the other roles, he didn't have big, humongous roles.
Well, it was still a good concept of the movie.
Yeah.
A good plot. I mean, you had to
Mhm.
wear the glasses to see the ghosts and everything.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I appreciated it.
No, I liked it and everything. Especially the way they did the ghosts and stuff. But you know, I think it didn't get much fanfare because of when it came out. If it had come out now or even 10 years ago, I think it would have gotten more appreciation.
Hmm.
I just don't think when it came out, because Matthew Lillard was in it, and it came out in 2001, and he was already in Scream in 1996. So he already had a fanfare where people were going to go see it, and I just don't think they advertised it well. I don't think that they really put. I don't think they put Tony Shalhoub up there as being in it. I think they put it all on Matthew Lillard, and yeah, he had a good character in there, but at the same time, I don't think it was his signature. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
he wasn't. I wouldn't consider him the lead in that movie.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he pretended to be an electrician or whatever to get in the house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just saying it wasn't his. We all know certain people play the same character essentially all the time, and Matthew Lillard has more range than that, but he gets pigeonholed into things, and sometimes people show up thinking that he's going to be the same character he was in Scream or Shaggy in Scooby Doo, and they don't get that, and then they're like, "Oh, this movie sucked," when it actually didn't.
I guess I need
Well,
to watch this at some point because, yeah, I don't even remember it being on my radar back then when it came out.
I
I've
don't.
tried to get you to watch this a couple of times, Fuzzy.
Hmm?
I've tried to get you to watch this a couple times.
Mm. I must have
Mm,
been on my sci-fi kick at that point or something.
hmm
Like early 2000s. I was still about like Star Trek and J.J. Abrams with like what was that other thing? What was the movie with the weird space dinosaur or space monster? Cloverfield.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
Clover.
Yes.
on that streak at that
Oh,
point. So
those could be a little hard to watch with all the shaky camera. Like it was realistic, but I remember Cloverfield. The big thing was like makes people sick. They're throwing up in the movie theaters and stuff. And yeah, I mean, you don't take. I guess you take for granted sometimes with movies like the camera being still where like this. I mean, what they were going for, they totally hit it out of the park with like
yeah,
a cameraman doing it, running and stuff. But yeah, it does get a little much where it's like, okay, like, can we just like chill and just be still for a second? Like, and
no,
then yeah, the whole point of like trying to see this creature, like the
yeah,
anticipation, and sometimes I feel like the anticipation, if you don't get the reward or what you're expecting, that could just ruin the movie when you wait like an hour to see this thing and then all of a sudden you see it and you're like, oh, looks like a spider. Cool. Like,
No, I think the shaky cam reminded me too much of video games, so that's why I didn't get the motion sickness from watching it. But the first person perspective that they had for some of those shots and stuff was pretty cool. At least I thought. It also the same thing with like Blair Witch Project, because I think that was around about the same time. That found footage, shaky. Well, it wasn't as much shaky cam, but you could tell it was like somebody holding the camcorder in the woods kind of thing. Those at that time, I think that was about as far as I was going with horror. If it wasn't a zombie movie, and I was more so on like the sci-fi stuff at that point, or action films, Michael Bay explosions and Transformers, at least early 2000s. That's what I mainly remember watching.
So we have a question: will there ever be will there ever be a horror movie that uses common sense?
I responded, and I said, Get Out or A Quiet Place. Because I feel like Get Out, the guy used a lot of common sense to, like, get himself out of that situation. And A Quiet Place also, that was a movie where, like, they used common sense to, like, it was a well thought out movie where it's like, okay, we can't walk on leaves, like, we're gonna get these things, or when we're in stores, like, we gotta be very quiet, and like they did a lot of things to stay quiet. So I feel like those two movies, just off the top of my head, I feel like they use common sense. Now, whether it worked out for them or not, kind of. I mean,
Well, the other Jordan Peele movie, I think it was called Us.
oh, with the people, yeah.
Now that one also used common sense, even though the ending was the opposite of what we thought was going to happen. But there was a lot of common sense in that one. The originally Get Out was supposed to have a different ending, and he actually changed the ending because it didn't go along with the common sense elements that he had put in, because he wasn't actually supposed to get out. You know what I'm saying? He was supposed to have died. They were supposed to get him at the end, and he was like, well, this doesn't really make sense for what I set up, so he changed it because he didn't want it to feel hopeless.
Yeah,
More than it already was. That movie was kind of a lot of hopelessness in that thing.
like I think even like the movie we're talking about tonight with Scream, that one kind of pokes fun to some extent at the rules and the expectations in horror films. So there was some common sense, but it's almost like because they were like self-aware, it seemed like they did some things different to purposely throw either people off track or have them focus on the wrong character. Like, the two killers basically kidnapped the dad and was going to frame him, much like they framed the other guy for, Nev Campbell's mom or her mom's, murder and stuff like that. So it didn't always play all the way through as far as common sense, because there were times where a few of the characters ran up the stairs, but
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like they at least were self-aware, unlike with some of the zombie movies. Like a lot of zombie movies, it's almost like you feel they've never heard of a zombie prior. And it's like, it's funny, we watch zombie movies, so we always know, hey, shoot for the head and double tap if necessary, just to make sure, kind of thing. But it almost feels like, oh, zombie movies, they don't understand that.
Well,
Although they do get, certain ones don't, but
zombie
they at
movies
least get
are
the arrow part right for quietness. So that's at least a good thing that we see
well,
in a lot of those. But
zombie movies. There are the zombie movies that strictly stay away. They're like they are coming in this like nobody has ever heard of a zombie, and then you have the movies where there are zombies, and it takes a different route. Because there are these rules, and it has to break some of the rules. So there's that type of zombie movie too. So that's why I like zombie movies.
But it's hard because, like, it's easy for us to just be like, as viewers, we watch the movie and be like, oh, of course these are the rules. Like, we've saw 5 zombie movies already. Like, this is what you do, don't do, whatever. But then also think about, like, if you knew, like in zombie movies, it's not like they watch zombie movies before, so like no rules or whatever. So to put yourself in the position where it's like something crazy happens that you know nothing about or you don't know the rules for, that makes it kind of creepy. Like Scream, you know, Randy's there telling you the rules. So it's like, don't do this, don't do this. Like, don't say I'll be right back, and then say, I'll be right back. Like, he tells you the rules to follow. So like, you know, something happens, it's on you. But some of these like zombie movies, like you said, like you shoot them in the head. But like we know that because we watched the movies before, so it's like that's how you kill them. But I don't know, put in that position. If I mean, hopefully I'm never in a zombie apocalypse. But if I was, like, I don't know if I'd always be like, okay, Matt, shoot him in the head. Like I'd be like, I'm just fucking shooting anything to knock this thing down to get by or get out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like 28 days later, though. It's like 28 days later. We have it where it's opening up and stuff like that, and we know that this is a rage, you know, thing rather than, you know, a zombie thing. But the thing is that they still make note and call them zombies in the movie. And the other thing is that you have different ways of killing a creature like that rather than a zombie, because even the zombie movies that are like, oh, we've never heard of zombies before, what do they start doing? They start shooting them in the head. Like, there's no other way to get them unless you want to, I guess, burn them.
But shooting them in the leg will slow them down or possibly knock them down. But from a military standpoint, I always know center mass, or, you know, if you're good enough, headshot. But the center mass is always at least some form of stopping power. And, you know, if one round doesn't work and they're, you know, an average size, then, you know, aim a little higher for the headshot at that point. But that's a military or even police thing, I guess, as far as when they train you to shoot and stuff. But there's some movies that it feels like more and more producers and directors are understanding that we want to see some common sense, so we're not yelling at the screen like, don't go down there, or don't run up the stairs, kind of thing, you know. So they're at least respecting our time in that regard by adding some more, you know, common sense stuff in a lot of these horror movies. Although every now and then we get these surprises, like even looking back at the Saw films, it's like, how do you avoid that? Just be a good person. Well, sometimes they think they're being a good person. They still get caught up where, whoa, you swallowed a key. So you can either, you know, find a way to get the key out of you or get the key out of this person, or, you know, you die. Yeah. So, or you could cut off your foot, or you could stay here forever. So, yeah.
Those situations are just fucked up because, like,
there is no win situation.
Yeah. It's like, okay, he's telling me I'm going to die within 5 minutes if I don't do this, but I got cut off my foot. Then, like, you touch the blade on your ankle and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And it's like, you got 5 minutes. And it's like, I don't know. Just give me death. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you guys were in a horror movie, do you feel like you would, I guess this could be a 2-part question, almost like, if you didn't watch any horror movies, do you feel like you could survive in a horror movie? Because I feel like if I would ask you, like, being you've seen all the movies you've seen, could you survive in a horror movie? And I feel like at least that way you would say yes. Because, like, but if, like, a horror movie happened in real life that you were part, I guess it wouldn't be a movie then, but if something happened in real life like that, do you think you'd be able to, like, scream, or do you think you'd be able to survive that?
With my military training, I think I stand a pretty good chance, as long as I'm not in the middle of nowhere, as in on an ocean or a body of water kind of thing. I think I could probably hang in there, or possibly figure out ways of surviving or hiding or fighting, whatever the case may be. But body of water, middle of nowhere, I'm probably a little less likely because there's no way I can wade water that long or swim to a great length of distance kind of thing. So yeah, that would be like my I wouldn't say my weakness, but that would be like the situation where I doubt I would survive as well. But I think even in the woods or in not a haunted house, but like an abandoned house kind of thing, I give myself better than a 50% chance. I'll just say, but also I'm probably the type that's looking for improvised weapons. And if I'm in a weird situation, like if I find myself in the woods because somebody put a bag over my head and dumped me in the woods kind of thing, yeah, I'm going to have to find improvised weapons. If I'm going to the woods willingly, like for hunting or something, I probably already have some weapons, both projectile and non-projectile. So it's like, I would still look for backups or figure out a way to survive. But yeah, it depends on the scenario. Fast zombies are the only ones that really worry me. Slow zombies, they don't worry me, even if it's hundreds, unless I'm completely surrounded. Then yeah, if I can't climb a tree fast enough, then yeah, I'm done. And even then, it would be, I don't know. I think I could go 3 days with a little bit of fluid or water or juice or whatever I have with me, kind of thing. What about
I'm the
you, Fee?
opposite. I'd be the girl in the movies. Like I'd probably do all the dumb shit. I'd trip. I wouldn't be able to get up. Like I would answer the doorbell. Like anything. Like anything you're not supposed to be doing. That'd probably be me. Like, and I would not last at all. I would get killed right away. Not even gonna lie. Like depending on what it is. Like I know there's people saying like vampires where it was zombies, aliens. I just feel like all of them I don't have a shot in. Like I mean vampires. Just keep all my lights on maybe. Werewolves. I don't know.
Here's the thing about surviving in a horror movie. Okay.
Don't be in one.
Well, yeah, besides that. So surviving in a catastrophic event, whether it's fighting against human beings, you just want to be left alone, but they want you as part of their group, or they just want to kill you or whatever, or you go against supernatural or whatever. You can acquire survival skills. I mean, you can go through trial and error and figure it out. The thing that you have to have is, one, the ability to kill if you need to, and two, to remain calm in a situation. Like, you have to be able to remain in a state of, this is not going to affect me. It's not going to, make my whole world go upside down if I don't think things through first before I take an action. So you need those two things. Everything else you can acquire. You can acquire weapons. You can acquire, the ability to get you water. You can acquire the ability to make sure you don't get a disease or a virus or whatever. But you can't do those two things without having it within you. Desperation is not going to get you anywhere. Like in the Saw movies, you're pretty desperate to get out of that situation, but your mind is not really thinking. You're in a constant state of fear. You can't be in that constant state of fear and actually be able to survive.
Yeah. Although sometimes the added effect of pain might affect that as well. So there's that. So pain tolerance might be another thing. But just thinking of other scenarios where I know I probably stand much less than the 50% chance is like no real hiding spot from wild animals like bears or lions or tigers. Like that's a little bit different. Like I might be able to get away with like some of the bigger cats and convince them I'm friendly, but if they're hungry, I'm probably cat food at that point. Same thing with a bear. I'm not trusting that just lay still like you're dead, like that's going to really do anything. And then I think that only works with certain bears. So yeah, they climb trees, so I'm hosed there. They could probably push down a door if I run into the house, but yeah,
And I just
wild
want to highlight.
animals that are about my size or bigger, I got like a 1% chance probably, but
But I want to highlight something. You'd be surprised the will to survive will make you become another person altogether. No, I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, though, is that desperation and fear, not pain, because pain is going to not put you in a desperate state necessarily.
yeah.
But desperation and fear are going to kill you because they don't make your mind work. If you are into wanting to survive, that's a totally different state. Totally different state.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to get back to this one question. And I think it highlights that we need to have a show just for this type of scenario, which I think it's this one right here. Movies that involve supernatural spirits beings make no sense to me. How can any human physically stop them?
You can't. You're fucked. Just.
But I think this comes down to all of the lore and all of the background stories that we hear in these supernatural type of movies. Because The Conjuring would follow the same storyline as the storyline from Friday the 13th, or even Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a back lore that's supposed to tell you how to solve the puzzle to get you out of the situation. Like Until Dawn, was there not a puzzle? But that's how the supernatural works.
Well, at least you would hope if you ever encountered that, be like, oh, these other people. Well, like, what was the movie we recently watched where the woman was dead and buried in the basement or something? And it's like, oh, well, I'm assuming they thought she was a witch and they burned her and all that, and she was still alive
the
or whatever.
Jane Doe one.
Yeah, it's like, even when you do understand or at least get an idea of the backstory, it still doesn't prevent you from the ultimate outcome. But, in the grand scheme of things, people that don't want to bother with that outcome or bother with finding out the lore, just pass it off to the next town. Yeah, that works too. So there's that.
Well, no, I totally get that. But, with the autopsy of Jane Doe, I think the moral of the story to that one is put her back in the ground and leave her alone. Dig her up. If you put her back in and don't have any contact with her, you're good to go. When you start messing with her.
Hey, when you bring a dead body into a building and the lights start flickering, that's the time where you leave that building. I'm just saying. I don't know.
It's hard because that movie, like, they're just doing their job, like,
true,
and weird shit's happening, like they don't understand it. So like, and like they just keep getting more and more caught in with like finding stuff out, like, oh well, this doesn't make sense. Well, this is so like I can't fault them, like but yeah, I mean, and as in like them just getting out. I mean, they work in a morgue, so like they're built different. They're not
used to seeing death.
Yeah, they're used to seeing some weird shit and like crazy shit. So, my like second uncle, he works at a funeral home, and like he took me in the basement where it's not legal to do it now, but where they used to do all the embalming and stuff of the bodies, and like it was so creepy. But like he's a little out there too, so like it fits that he does this. It's like, oh yeah, like if you would ask me what he'd be good at, I would probably say that. So yeah, like when that stuff happens, I don't think they really second guessed it. It was just kind of like, this is weird, but we keep finding out stuff, like we want to get to the bottom of this. And it's like they really didn't do anything wrong, they just got the short end of the stick, it seemed. It's not like they were bad people.
No, they just this entity or being or whatever just wanted to lay waste to everybody that came in contact with her since her torching or burning at the stake kind of deal. So
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd probably be mad.
yeah, I mean, not to pick sides between the regular people and the person that was burned at the stake kind of thing, but it's like, yeah, that when they talk about, I guess, unresting, uh, souls or whatever, the afterlife and stuff like that. Yeah, I think there's something to that, and it's until you can resolve it, or maybe there is no resolve. They're just going to be on that permanent tear where furniture is going to fly or chairs are going to be stacked, and all the seances you have at that place isn't going to change anything in a lot of cases. So time to find a new spot to stay. But if that's your job, yeah. Although there's got to be a point where the hair on the back of your neck, even if you're used to that stuff,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure if you were to ask your uncle, it'd be like, has anything ever made your hair stand up on the back of your neck? And you'd probably be like, well, there was this one time. And then it's like, he probably deep down, if that ever occurs again, yeah, he might call it a shorter night that night kind of thing. And, wait until the next day type of deal. But
yeah, he would like, he's that awkward a guy where like family gatherings, he'll tell stories about this stuff where like some people may like it, but others are like, oh boy, there's Gregory telling the stories again. Like where he'll tell stories about like going to the house to get the bodies and like the way they find them sometimes and everything. And it's just like, oh boy, like that's a certain kind of person right there. That's not me, man.
Yeah, that's kind of how people react to my teacher stories. It's like, yeah, let's get away. We're done with this. Yeah, we don't need to hear about the wild children anymore. I feel for them. But yeah, burning your house down is not an answer either, people.
That was me.
I know. But I just want to make it aware when you see things in movies that are supernatural. I do want you to make you aware that burning the very thing that is containing this being is not a good idea.
Well, I thought he asked about Cobweb. I thought that was a spider movie, so I feel like that's an accurate answer to burn the house down. There's spiders everywhere.
Spider infestation. Yeah, just make it crispy.
Down. Yeah, just you know what? Just we had a good run in this house.
So I've never watched Cobweb, so I'm not sure how to answer that question. We're gonna have to revisit that one.
Burn the house down. Yeah. I think I did.
I think that's what they did in Arachnophobia. They burnt the house down. It's fine as long as you have insurance.
See?
Why'd you burn the house? Oh, spiders everywhere. Yeah.
Get that new.
How about you just say termites? The termites set the fire. Yeah, that's what they did.
Get that new remodel you wanted. Use your money.
Apparently, Cobweb is not about spiders. I guess we're gonna have to take a look at that movie.
If it's not about spiders, the only thing else I could think of would be like something like a mental fog type of situation. But yeah, we should probably check it out.
So I just want to put this out there that yeah, I agree. Some movies are called certain things, even though they're not about that. Like Possum. Possum is not about a possum.
I never even knew there was a movie called Possum.
Yeah, there is. There's a horror movie called Possum, and it has puppets in it and really weird things.
Has puppets and really weird things. Do they all play dead and then surprise?
No, they're very much alive. It's kind of like, you remember that band Tool? I think it was called Tool, where they had those weird, creepy videos of those porcelain kind of dolls that were misshapen. It kind of gave me that feel when I was looking at the trailer. Yes, we've seen Pumpkinhead. I don't think Fuzzy's seen Pumpkinhead, but I've definitely.
I don't remember it.
That's an older one.
Yeah, that's a really older one.
It's not a pumpkin or a head. Spoiler.
No. Puppets and Tool comparison has me interested. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, it gives me that vibe. Um, but it's about something about the guy's dad and abuse and stuff. So yeah,
Sounds like a great family movie to watch at dinner
yeah,
time.
yes, definitely, yeah, definitely while you eat, yes, yeah. Fuzzy doesn't like when I put certain things on while he's eating.
Yeah, like it's not that I can't eat. I would just rather not. Like I live in a time where we can change the channel and not have to watch Dr. Pimple Popper, while I'm eating some French fries because the stuff that comes out of that looks like the inside of a French fry. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. Like I'm enjoying my French fries. Please leave me be. I don't want to
Let's
see a
just
boil on the back of somebody's hip. No, no, thank you.
let's just not watch any Pimple Popper.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah, I like watching it.
you're fucked up.
But I'm the same person that watched all 3 Human Centipedes. So I mean,
no, thank you to that either. Like I get the concept, not interested. No,
no.
I, I, I'll put it to you this way: I'm not even interested in the testimony for the Diddy party stuff. So, hell with a centipede anything. No, thank you. Oh no, gives a whole new meaning to ATM. No, no, thank you. Sorry. Next.
Next.
Oh, did we ever get sidetracked from Scream?
Yeah.
Boy.
Say baby oil.
Wait a minute. See on the screen?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, can we say baby oil? I mean, hey, he should have did instead of tequila commercials. He should have did baby oil, like Johnson Johnson baby oil commercial. I mean, maybe no. Cause let me
That
shut
would
up.
have
Let me shut
justified
up.
all that baby oil. Because I mean,
Yeah.
like, hey, they said it. They set me
I
on
like to
this baby
glisten
oil.
while I'm in my house, listening to bad boy music. No, no. that would have been his best explanation. Like he was shiny suit man, he could have been just shiny man with all that baby oil. No,
Oh my gosh, what was that? Now I'm thinking about that one movie, and I can't remember the title. I'm gonna have to figure it out because the one guy comes out covered in baby oil, and the
You
character
think of
just
a movie,
like,
I think of the what was it, The Simpsons? Is it The Simpsons or is it Family Guy? I think it's Family Guy with the greased up deaf guy or something.
yeah, yeah. No, there was another movie. I gotta figure out. I gotta figure out what it is. But this one guy comes out in just head to toe kind of baby oil, very very shiny, and the other character's like, yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, I'm out of here.
For
It wasn't
what
even a horror movie.
purpose? Sounds
What?
horrorish.
I know. I gotta figure out what movie it is. It's just I can't remember what the name is. The Hidden. I have to look that one up. I think I've seen that. The Hidden.
You guys are cracking me up with these comments in the chat.
I know.
Yeah, nobody knew what was the real meaning of the naming bad boy. About that. You've been a bad boy. Let me
I'm not
stop.
touching any of those subjects.
Yeah, don't diddy anything. Don't. Yeah, no, I'm gonna stop because I'll just get on a roll talking about Diddy stuff, and we're not doing this. This is a family friendly horror podcast,
Okay, I
and we're
wouldn't
talking
say
about Scream.
family friendly. I would say family above the age of what, 18.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, and we're talking about Scream, which is a good movie,
Good wholesome movie, right?
and I think if Diddy was in that movie, Ghostface would run the other way. I really do. I think he would be the anti-villain to Ghostface. Ghostface would know. Like he would know there's something wrong with that guy.
I think he's just anti. I think he's the anti everything in that movie. Because I
Diddy
don't
Kong.
think the victims would run towards him either. Just
I saw
saying.
Ghostface running, and he was running away from Shiny Suit Man. Oh, okay.
Diddy Belvedere.
No. Mm-mm.
Shots fired.
No, yeah.
Isn't that our bud from overseas? Buzz, didn't you just get your passport?
No passports here. No, I don't have some video surveillance of anybody or anything. Yeah.
Oh, Scream in the Diddy universe. No. Don't tarnish Scream. Don't.
Take that.
I feel like if anything, it would be more for like, it would fit with Freddy. Like if Freddy really did what he did with those kids, like baby oil would make sense. So
Yeah.
You pull off Freddy's mask, it's Diddy underneath. Oh no.
Jesus Christ.
Let me stop.
So back
Stop.
back to Scream. And leaving the Diddy verse behind, I guess. And all that stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, Freddie's only using the baby oil for skincare reasons.
Oh man.
Just skincare reasons.
Yeah. All right. Before we get too off the rails, we should probably wrap up with like our scores of Scream before we get into this alternate Diddyverse or whatever. But I guess I'll start with my
the Diddyverse. Okay.
No, me neither. But my score for Scream, the original, I would say this was even back when I originally saw it, and not just from rewatching it. And I would say this is probably my fourth or fifth time rewatching it, although I'm not a big rewatcher kind of person.
No,
but
not.
I gave it, I would say, even from the original first viewing, an 8.5. Like, I think it did a lot of things differently than most horror films in the way it grabbed our attention and, played against some of the normal tropes in horror movies. Like, this was like the smarter horror film where it was like they knew the rules, much like we had talked about earlier and stuff. And unfortunately, the guy that knew the rules was feeding that to the killers and making them, I guess, better killers, even though they were a little few screws loose, little woozy. But yeah,
peer pressure.
Yeah, it was a funny movie when it was trying to be funny, and it was a tense movie when it was, chasing down people and stabbing them. So it was good overall. I think, other than like the scary movie, franchise kind of riding off of its coattails, kind of poking fun at horror films in general. This film, definitely places its stamp in being a top tier franchise in the horror genre, and that's hard these days with modern. I would say anything past the 80s kind of thing, or past the 90s. That's becoming a harder and harder thing, and this one definitely earned its place amongst the top names or top franchises. So that's my thoughts on it. A solid 8.5 or 8.5.
What about you, Fee?
So, I mean, I would give it a 9 because it was when it first came out, it was original. I think we've seen things, that other people have taken from Scream to add. But I will say this: Drew Barrymore picking. I mean, this thing had a $14 million budget, right? Her deciding to pick Casey's role over doing Neve Campbell's, Casey, the role of Casey compared to doing Sydney, and letting Nev Campbell have that. One, that's not really the role that she was at the time taking. It was a very kind of subdued kind of role. And if we go back to when she was doing her other movies, she was in Everybody Says I Love You at that same time. She was in Batman Forever at that time. She did Mad Love and Boys on the Side all the year before. All three of them the year before. She did 3 movies the year before that. She did 2 before that. She did Wayne's World 2 and Doppelganger. So I could see why she would have taken a smaller role, especially the beginning, in the very beginning of the movie, where it's just you're centered on her. I think that made sense for her at the time, especially when we're talking about a $14 million budget. I couldn't imagine she's getting that much more money taking on a larger role than what she could have had just in doing Casey's role. So I kind of commend her for knowing what her value was at that time. And it gave Nev Campbell an opportunity to get her name out there as well. But I think allowing Drew Barrymore to accept a lesser role and them not just, saying, oh, no, we're just not going to work with her. I think that adds to the movie, because I think during that time, a lot of females were not getting a big say in what they wanted to do. So I got to commend the people that put Scream together for that. And I think that added to the movie, and giving the opportunity for a female character to have a stronger presence and not be a victim, because they were also going after, males in this as well. The only thing I did not like about this movie was the portrayal of the principal when he touched Sydney's face. That is something that I grew up in the 90s. You would have never done that to anybody. A principal would never have touched a female's face. Probably not even a boy's face.
That was a little creepy, but it was the Fawn, so I give him a hall pass.
Yeah, and to have Henry Winkler in there as well, because at the time he was kind of struggling, for people, struggling to get roles and stuff, because he was always pigeonholed in that he's the Fonz. I like that. So I'm gonna give it a 9 for all of it.
So Sydney, when I think Scream and The Craft came out in '96, so I feel like those 2 movies definitely for Nev Campbell put her on the map. And then I think Scream 2 came out like a year or 2 later, but then she also did Wild Things, which was so, but my score is probably a 9.3. Scream's my favorite franchise. It's the movie besides probably the Ninja Turtle movies, like the early 90 ones, the good ones. Scream is probably the movie that I've seen the most. The wife loves it too, so it's like, what to watch? I'll just put on Scream. Like, it's a comfort movie also in this household. So, and then I do a lot of conventions and I've met a lot of the cast. I feel like it's brought me closer to that franchise where, you hear certain stories that may normally talk about, or you have a one-on-one interaction, and it's like, I don't know, I get caught up in that hype stuff. So it's just a good movie. It's solid to this day. It ages well. It's not like some of the other movies you watch that do not age well at all, whether it was special effects, just how it was shot, some of the dialogue, the clothing. Yeah, we're just talking about the first Scream, not the whole franchise. So this would be, like definitely over a 9. It's a couple things, like you said, could be fixed or you might change, but I don't know if that director really did anything before that. So I feel like this really, if he did not, it really put him on the map.
Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I'm in TV, that's why. So for Scream, find it. Yeah, she did The Craft the same exact year. Which movie are we talking about as far as the director?
Of Scream, Kevin.
They listed Wes Craven as being the director of Scream.
Sorry, the writer.
Oh, the writer.
Kevin Williamson, I believe.
Yeah. So
He actually has a new show on Netflix called The Waterfront that a lot of people seem to be liking. I think it's only 8 episodes. I don't know what it's about, but I mean, if he did Scream, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because he's had a lot of stuff in the 2000s. He did he was a writer for Dawson's Creek, Wasteland. The only thing he did prior, I think, was Another World.
I mean, sometimes you don't really need like one movie just puts you on the map, and this was one. I think he did 1 and 2, like a writer, but yeah, he did an amazing job for Scream 1.
Yeah,
I mean, I give it to all these people when you have a franchise and then you do sequels, because you always got to figure out a way to bring it back that makes the killer make sense, and then come up with a new story, but also believable. That's not like, well, this is just a dumb story, it doesn't make any sense. Like, so it's easier just to shit on stuff, but it's actually hard to come up with new ideas because everything's almost been done already at some point or another.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, he started with Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, because he's got a couple of acting roles before then, and he was on Another World in 1990. But that's about it. He was Dougie on Another World.
Yeah, not like
No idea. All I know is that was a soap opera.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody took interest in him, and that was good that Wes Craven was willing to direct it.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Craven, I feel like he knew talent when he saw it. So
yeah,
it's very rare there's like a Wes Craven movie that is shit or like not good. I mean, a guilty pleasure one is Cursed with Christine Ricci, the werewolf one. That's like, it's like a fun werewolf movie. Yeah. And he did that. And yeah, I mean, it's Wes Craven seemed like a guy. I mean, once he passed, like everyone just had amazing things to say about the guy. And you could tell like people were really choked up that worked with him and stuff. And in the later Screams, little Easter eggs, like calling the one character Wes and stuff. Like, you don't do that for stuff, people that like are dicks or whatever.
Yeah. No, but this is the movie that started the franchise. Definitely, well, I'll say from my standpoint, although I don't think I've seen 5 or 6 at this point. I know I've seen probably the first 4. The strongest one that I've seen so far out of the series, but it's the one that started it, and I'm glad they everybody that starred in it took the chance and made this instant classic. Essentially, is what it wound up being. I think. I think people kind of knew, even watching it, would be like an instant classic. And then, like I said earlier, that's hard for modern horror these days. I mean, yeah, Terrifier is trying. I've yet to watch the Terrifier because a certain somebody just doesn't like. Why is Art the Clown doing this? But we'll eventually watch it. But yeah,
Well,
I'll leave it at that.
Scream, like you said, having 2 killers was something that was new at the time that like you didn't see coming. And then for the ongoing franchises, like the second one had 2 killers also. The third one had 1 killer, which was like, whoa, how did this happen? The fourth one had 2 killers. The fifth one had 2 killers. And then the sixth one had 3 killers. So like it's you can't even assume like they kind of did it all. They had 1, then they had 2, then 1, then 3, like so like it's nice and refreshing that it's not just one person, that like it could be anyone. Like the new one, they could just like there could be like a club that's like Ghostface Club and they're just all killers. Like it's just the possibilities
turn it into a cult.
Yeah, like I hope they don't, because that would suck. But like it like as they said in the chat, like some of these franchises, it can kind of run its course. And with Scream, that's why I'm cautious, because it's like, okay, like how many people related to Nev Campbell or Sydney can keep going after her? Like, why does everyone want this girl dead? Is she a horrible person? Like, she really did nothing. It was her mom that did it, but yet she's getting all the backlash. Like, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they're all of the attackers are going for the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and they're trying to stunt her growth or something before she becomes, I guess, the cougar in the space kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just at some point she's going to wind up being. Yeah.
If they make a Scream in space, that's when I know the franchise like is done. Like you got Leprechaun in space, and then you got like Jason X in space. Like if you go in space, that's when like the franchise is out of ideas, and it's just like, let's do Leprechaun in space. They did like
they'll have an Easter egg in 7 where she gets a SpaceX ride. She wins a ticket for SpaceX or something, or Bronson's or Amazon, into space type of thing. Oh, you won one of those trips to the moon.
Hey, if that gets her away from Ghostface for a while, good for her. Like, let her enjoy some downtime where she doesn't have to worry. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah. No, but let's wrap this one up. This was an awesome show, talking about an awesome movie.
Got definitely derailed.
Yeah.
We always do.
Leave it to Diddy. He always derails everything. So, but yeah, Presto, you kick us off with the outros. This is your show.
Not really, but thanks everyone for listening. It was fun. Started on the Scream franchise, the favorite franchise, and then totally kept it with horror related, and then Diddy and everyone else came in the subject. So I feel like we covered a little bit of everything. Side note, in Pennsylvania, it's basically rained for the past 2 weeks, and today it's been sunny, so that's very exciting. I really don't have much going on this weekend. Last weekend was a little busy, a couple concerts, Father's Day, so this weekend trying to lay low a little, maybe do some stuff up in my man cave or something, but just enjoy the nice weather, hopefully. I think next week we have a heat index, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And
guess that's
what happened?
Oh, I think his phone disconnected.
I think he did.
All right. Well, I'll do my outro.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for the most part, this coming week, not much stuff other than a couple of podcasts here and there. Definitely, we'll be talking about some gaming. I don't know what we're watching as far as our next movie just yet. Maybe we talk about 28 years later. I don't know if we can do that for next Friday, but if we do, look forward to that. I will be just playing video games and spend time with Fee for the most part
Uh-huh.
in between video games and
Oh, that
Uh-huh.
sucks.
Yeah, I know.
but other than that, just thanks everybody for joining us. Greatly appreciate you guys, hanging out with us, asking questions, and enjoying the sidetracks from here and there and everywhere kind of thing. So greatly appreciate the support. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate the support. And Fee, let everybody know what you got going on and where they can find you.
Yeah, so we're gonna go see Megan 2.0 on the 24th. Hopefully, we got the advanced screening tickets, but you never know. We really
Yeah,
gotta
press
find a way
might.
to get press passes. So we have that, and I'm trying to think. I think that's it for next week. Besides the podcast, we are we did set up for an interview um, with Ron Black and Chris Avellino to talk about their uh, their short coming out that is Swine and Dine, and it's playing at this Smodcastle Theater in New Jersey, James, Kevin Smith's theater, on July 27th at 3 o'clock. Three until 5 or 3 until 6. Tickets are not expensive, so if you guys want to go on to, I'll put up the uh, the link. Also, Paul Sutt's movie Hunt Chase Kill. They're doing a premiere for that one July 6th. So I'll put up the link for that one too. Instagram's not all that great for links. Every time I try and push on, like if somebody puts in a link and you have to copy and paste it, you can't actually click on it like in the other ones. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if somebody else is. But even
It's
when I put
Facebook
up,
security. They don't want you off
you
their
know,
sites.
pretty much, I guess. I mean, Facebook you can do it in, but you can't do it in Instagram. That's kind of weird to me. Because even when I put up the Fright Night with Ferocious fee um, advertisement and I put in the link, you still have to copy and paste it. You can't just click on the link. That's why I put it up in Blue Sky and Twitter as well, because you can do that. You can click on the link. So, but I'll put up the links and everything if you guys want to go. The tickets for the premiere for Paul Sets is not expensive either. It's actually under $20 per ticket. Um, so yeah, that's also in Jersey. I think it's Greensboro or Greenswoods. I have to look again, but I know it's definitely in Jersey. Um, but yeah, besides that, we haven't picked for next Friday yet, but we will decide on something. Right? So
Yeah.
we'll also have an interview up probably at the end of the week for um, Ron and Chris's Swine and Dine. But yeah, that's all I got going on. Oh, I did. Wait a minute, before we go, Ginger Lynn is going to be at the August premiere of Grind. So I will put up the Lamp Theater in case anybody wants to drive to Pittsburgh or if anybody lives in that area. Because Ginger Lynn will be at the premiere. And that's August 9th. Did find that out. Anybody else?
No?
Nope. Just thanks everyone for listening.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.